Okay, so welcome to part 4 of our tutorial series to develop a student admin app. Okay, so in prior videos, in prior parts, we did the add student, display students. That was part 1. Display all students was part 2. Part 3, we did the add a course and display all courses. We did both of those in one video. And in this video, we're going to kick off and start work on the add a course enrollment functionality. And we'll develop the screen and we'll make it so that we can see a list of our students in here and get all their details and also display all the course details as well. Okay, and when we click the add button at the end of this video, we'll see the course, the student we selected and the course we selected in the console screen. Okay, so we're actually putting objects into our combo boxes. We're not just storing strings of data, we're storing references to students and courses in the students array list and the courses array list. Okay, so we're doing some quite powerful stuff here. I'll start off by doing a discussion of how we're going to store the data and how best to do it. But that's what we do in this video anyway. We're doing most of the video, or most of the groundwork for adding course enrollments. Okay, so stay tuned. Let's go. Okay, so in this video, things get a lot harder. Up until now, we're dealing with students on their own or courses on their own, and things have been relatively very simple. Okay, they might have seemed difficult to you, but they are, in the world of things, relatively very simple. Okay, now we come onto something that's more complicated. For example, when these two data structures, students and courses, start interacting, we need to work out how they're going to interact and what's allowed and what we can do to support it. Okay, as programmers. So student course enrollments, the basic questions that we will need to be able to answer. What courses is a student enrolled in? That's a fair course. That's a fair question. What courses is a student enrolled in? And also, who are the students who have enrolled in a course? Maybe in the past or maybe currently for the current term, or who have enrolled for next term? Okay, so all of these things need to be known. In this project so far, we're not worried about terms and years and all that sort of thing. We've just got a bunch of students and a bunch of courses, and we're going to enroll them so that students are enrolled in courses. We don't care about terms and courses, terms and years and whatever, and future terms. We're just being as simple as we possibly can. Okay, leave the complexity for the future, for a future project or assignment. Okay, so a really clunky solution you might do is where you've got just text fields. So a student text field, and you type in their name, if you can remember it. Type in their ID, if you can remember it. What do you type in? And the course, do you type in their name or course code, or can you remember it? Do you know what it is? What if you type it wrong? Okay, so as you can see, this is a really clunky, horrible solution. There's a whole range of issues. For example, the data entry, you've got to do data entry for student names and codes for enrolments. You've got to do data entry of those. What if you do typos, errors, mismatches? What if you misspell names? What if you get the course code wrong? What if you're supposed to enter a name here and someone enters an ID? Or what if you're supposed to enter a student ID and someone enters a name? Okay. Do you then try and find out what the ID is from that name? What if they've spelled it wrong? So you can see here the issues become compounded very quickly. What if we know a student's name but not their ID? And same for the course code. What if we know their course code but not the name? Or the course name but not the code? Then you've got to leave this, the user might have to leave this screen, go somewhere else, look up the course code for the course name, and come back again, and hopefully the student's still on the phone ready to enroll. So you can see this way, things are get very clunky very quickly, just allowing the user to enter these values. Even if you said all they can enter is the course codes and student IDs, it would still get very clunky. How can you remember what a student's ID is? How can you remember what a course code is? The student might say, the student might be on the phone saying, I've enrolled in object-oriented programming this term, and it's not showing up on my tutorials list. What's going on? And if they've got to enter a course code here, all they know is object-oriented programming. Well, what's the course code? Oh, I can't remember. I'm at work at the moment. So then whoever's using the system is then stuck. Okay, so this isn't a good way to do it. A much better way for what we've done so far is to maybe store more information inside these data entry items and make them combo boxes. Okay, so the user can't type in values, they've got to select a student from the list. and select a course code from the list, or a course from the list. And once they've selected a pair, then they can click the Add button. Okay, so this is a much better solution. There are some issues, of course. There's more code, and it's slightly more complex code, but it's worth it because you've got all of the data you need to remember to know who someone is. If they phone up, "Hi, it's Miss O'Malley on the phone here. Which courses am I enrolled in for next term?" Okay, I can drop down a list, and it could be sorted by first name or second name, or student ID, or whatever you like. You could sort it by different things and find me very quickly, and then I could get a list of courses that I'm enrolled in. Okay, so much better when you do ComboBoxes or something like that. There's no need to remember what a student's ID is, or how to spell their name, or whether you spelled it correctly, or whether you heard them right on the phone. There's no need to worry about any of that sort of stuff. Okay, so all around, if you can limit the scope of what they can enter, then you can save yourself a lot of work with validations. And that's what we're doing here by presetting ComboBoxes and just allowing them to choose one of each. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that solution with ComboBoxes. Okay, so what do we want our data structure to look like? That's going to hold these students and the courses they're enrolled in, and the courses and the students who are enrolled in those courses. Okay, so it's a two-sided thing. It's not just students who need to know the courses they're enrolled in. Courses also need to know how many students are enrolled, so they can work out which classrooms are needed, how many lab computers are needed, how many teachers are needed, how many whatever, so there's a whole lot of things to work out. So data structure should definitely be flexible. A student can be enrolled in 0, 1 or many courses. A course can have 0, 1 or many students enrolled. At this stage, we're not worried about terms or years or cancellations or anything like that. We're not worried about the complexities. Okay, we can add these things in later if we wanted to. And there's many ways to do this. There's many beautiful data structures that are built into Java which handle this sort of thing perfectly. Unfortunately, for students in my course, we haven't covered them yet, and we don't actually even cover them in this course. We talk about them briefly at the end, and that's it. So we're going to have to keep to the basics. So the simplest way for us at this stage is to have an array list of pairs of identifiers. Okay, so an array list of student IDs and course codes. Okay, so and each item in that array will be a student ID and a course code. Okay. And that's an enrolment. So an array list of enrolments, and each enrolment is a student ID and a course code pair. So look like this. We'll have an enrolment class which has got student ID and course code, and various methods maybe to help it: setters, getters, toString, whatever. And then we'll have an array list of those enrolments. And every time a student enrolls in a course, we add them to this array list, or we check if they're already enrolled in that course in the array list first. And if they're not enrolled already, we could add them. Okay, so we can do that sort of processing as well. To work out which courses a student is enrolled in, we simply traverse the array list looking for matches with the student's ID. Okay, so I want to search for all matches for Miss O'Malley. Which courses is he enrolled in? I could find Miss O'Malley's ID and then loop through, traverse this array list of enrolments, and find all the matches to Moose's student ID, which is 1001 or whatever it is. Same for course code. To find out which students are enrolled in a course, we simply traverse the array list looking for matches with the course code. Now this leaves us with the problem that we've only got the codes. Okay, so if we need to look up other details about the student or the course, we need to go back to the original array lists and traverse those. So we have to do like a traversal through those as well to find out which student ID was the one that we found a match for, to get their name and email and phone number. Same for course, to get the course names. Okay, so we could do that, and that's quite okay. That's easily doable for us at this stage in our Java learning. But there's a better way. There's one final way I'll show you. Okay, and that's where you just store the student and a course. So these are reference fields referring to a particular student in the array list of students, and this is a particular course referring to a particular course in the array list of courses. And so we're going to have an array list of enrolments where we're storing the actual references to the student and the course. So this is even more powerful because we're storing a reference, and we can get to the original data. We can get to the original data whenever we want. Okay, so once we've got the student found, we can go get student ID or whatever to find out what their student ID is, student.getName to get their name, course.getName, course.getCode. We can do all those sorts of methods. a part of the student class and the course class that we've already developed. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this, and we're going to do it with ComboBoxes, which is going to be a nice, interesting experiment. They're actually very powerful ComboBoxes in Java, and we can actually store strings or images or reference data. So we could store students, and then how are they displayed? It all depends on how you set your classes up. We'll have a look at that shortly. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement this design where we're storing the actual student and course, the references to the student in the course, in an array list of enrolments. Okay. Okay, so here we are back in NetBeans again, and we'll right-click on our package there, and we'll add a new JavaFX ML. So we're going to add a new scene. Okay. And this is going to be an enrolment scene. So in other words, the courses the students enrolled in, and so on. Okay, so this is going to be the scene for adding those. So we'll make it enrolment add scene. Okay, and we might do an enrolment display scene later on. I don't know. I'm playing all of this by ear. So we'll go next. We'll create a new controller. Just leave create new selected, and that's it. Finish. And so let's double click on that, and we'll just end up with a starting page. Okay, and so what do we want on here? Well, let's go back to our user interface that we were just talking about, and we want this. So student course enrollments, add clear inputs, return, and some labels and some combo boxes. Okay, so that's what we're looking at creating. Exactly that. So let's do that. Piece of cake. So GUI controls. We're going to add some buttons down the bottom. Add clear inputs. Return to main menu. And we're going to add a label in the title. And we might add a container, which is a grid. Good old grid. Grid, not flow pane, grid pane. And again, we just want to use the first two rows of that. So we'll add a label to that. A label and a label. So that's going to be student and course. And then we want to add two combo boxes. Combo box there, and combo box here. Let's make those a bit wider. Okay, it's not too bad. We'll neaten up our buttons, and this one's the add button. This one's the clear inputs, or whatever it's called, clear all, clear inputs. This one's return to main menu. Just the usual stuff that we've been doing every video so far. So return to main menu, clear. I'm not going to worry about the centering and neatness. I just want to show you functional code. I'm not going to spend hours making it neat. And this is going to be add let's add course enrollment, because we might add multiple. Okay, and we want to make the font again. I like the 24, and I'll make it bold. There we go. And that's centered. Yeah, that's all close enough. So let's go through our usual naming before we go further. So I'll expand the code section over here on the right, and I'll make that the add button handler. Just usual stuff that we've been doing. Clear inputs, clear lowercase c, clear inputs, button, copy that, paste it, handler. Okay, and then the return to main menu. Return to sender to main menu button. Control C, Control V, and then that handler. Okay, so we've named our three buttons. This is going to be our student, and this is going to be our course. They're just buttons, a label, so we don't really care about those. We don't have to give those names. But these combo boxes here we do need, because we need to interrogate those to find out which values have been selected, and also we need to set them up so they're populated with data at the right times. So let's click on that, and we'll give that a name of Student Combo Box. Okay, Student Combo Box, and this one here, it's going to have a name of Course Combo Box. Okay, so that's basically how we've got things set up at the moment. So they'll be able to select a course and a student, and come down here and click the Add button. That's where we're heading. Okay, so Control S to save that, and that will probably do us on this screen for now. Now let's come over here to our code. So we're looking at the enrollment add fxml. Right click on that and we'll say make controller. And there's our controller. Okay, so it's got the add button to clear the return the combo box. It hasn't got the course combo box. Maybe we missed out on that somehow. Let's go back. Student combo box. So the course combo box didn't take. Course combo box. Combo box. Doesn't matter what we call it, as long as it's a meaningful name. Student combo box, course combo box. So it's definitely taken this time. Control S to save it. Back to NetBeans and right click and go make controller, and there it appears. So it's appeared nicely. Okay, so we might take a bit of a detour here and just do a bit of combo box work first, because we haven't actually done them before in class. So a combo box, you'll see here it's got a question mark after it. You know when you declare an array list and you put inside less than greater than signs, you put in the type of data you want to store, students, strings, whatever. It's the same thing here. Okay, so we can make a combo box of string, and that could be things like names, or we can create combo boxes of other things. For example, enrolments, students, courses, images, all sorts of thjust Okay, so it's actually a very powerful component. We're only going to scratch the surface of it in this video, but let's just do a quick work with. We'll just have a play with Student Combo Box, and I'll show you what you can do. Okay, so we'll take a quick detour, and then we'll come back. Okay, so back in NetBeans, let's just, for now, make these array lists contain string. So they're in combo boxes. Make them a combo box of string. Okay, like we do array lists of strings. Okay, so just the same thing, and we'll have a bit of a play with one of the combo boxes. We'll just do a few exercises, make sure people are happy with combo boxes before we move on, and then we can start tackling the problems at hand again. Okay, so down here in our initialize, we might want to populate the combo box with values. For example, student combo box, and the way you populate them in JavaFX is really strange. Swing and AWT were much more straightforward. With JavaFX, Oracle and Sun perhaps seem to have gone off on wild, bizarre code. Anyway, don't get me started. So the way you populate items is you go .get items. Isn't that funny, hey? It's not set items, it's get items. And then you can say .add all. Okay, and inside here you can give a comma separated list. Moose. And my good old three examples, Frankie and Bella. And in case you're wondering, these are the names of my doggies. Oh, Bella, there we go. Okay, so we've populated our combo box with strings. We've added Moose, Frankie and Bella. Okay, so let's, we'll actually go and add a button onto the main menu so that we can jump across this screen, because we can't get to it yet. So, that's our FX. That's it. That's our controller. So let's open that up and add another button. So we'll go down to controls and add a button, and we'll say add student add enrolments. Enrolments. That'll do. What was our screen called? Add course enrollments. Okay, add course enrollments. So we'll keep so we're using the same name as the label and in the button. We're now doing version 4, so let's update that while we're here. Add enrolments. So we want to get to the ID of that button, and it's add course enrollments. Okay, and then let's give it a handler. So we've specified everything, so it's all nicely specified. So I've added the button, given it a name, Course Enrollments button. Didn't put the button there, Mike. And handler. So add Course Enrollments button, add Course Enrollments button, handler. Okay, that's much better. Control S to save. Always do a Control S. Let's regenerate the controller. So it brings in a new button and handler. And there's a new button. And there's a new handler. So let's come down and put a link across to our Course Enrollments data entry panel. So there it is, Enrollments add. That's the one, Enrollments add. And we need to put throws in our method header. Add throws. There we go. So that's our new screen wide in. We might as well, while we're here, we might as well make it so we can jump back as well if we need to. So we'll come over here to our enrollment add, and we'll make this button wide in as well. Okay, so it's already got a name and a handler. So let's come down into our controller. It's going to be this sort of code here. Into our add enrollments controller, come down into our return to main menu button handler, and we're going to change to our FX document enrollment, FXML. Okay, and then put a throws on our method, add a throws. There we go, that's done. Okay, so we're almost ready to have a play with ComboBoxes. Just had to do some plumbing first to get it so we could get to that screen and get back again. Okay, let's now compile and run. Everything good? And add course enrollments, there we go. And return to main menu. So that's working. So that's great. Okay. Remember how hard it used to seem a few videos ago, adding the navigation between scenes, and how easy it is now with our just one method, beautiful call there. Anyway. Okay, so we've got nothing in the... Oh, we have got... There's a combo box populated. So you can see our combo box is populated with the data that we populated it with. Okay. Course has still got nothing in it. Okay. Okay, so enrollments add. So you can see these three names here are appearing in the combo box as individual items to select. Okay. If you want to make it so something happens when a user clicks on a combo box, you can do that as well. So student combo box. Oops. Dot set on action. Print selected, and it's a student, selected student. So that's a method we're going to add to our class, and what we might do is leave all the XML generated code here, and we'll add our code down the bottom here, so we're free of all that code. We want to keep our code separate. So it's going to be a private method, it's going to be void, it's going to be called print, and so on. And what it's going to do is we just want to print them out to the console screen, or else we could do a label set as well. We could label.setText, but we just print them out to the console screen for now. System.out.print line, and it's the combo box. And this is where it's really easy. Dot get value, followed by a semicolon at the end. Okay, so double round brackets there and a close round bracket for the print line. That's all right. Okay, so with a little bit of code here, we're now populated a combo box and also made it so when the user clicks on a combo box and selects an item, this method down here runs, and we're just going to print something to the screen. I'm just showing you how you can get things to happen when you select on combo boxes. Okay, let's run it again. And when we, so watch down in the window down here, when I select Frankie, you'll see Frankie appears. Okay, When I select Bella, Bella appears. When I select Moose, Moose appears. Okay, so you can see the code is running when we click the combo box. Let's make it so that when we click the add button, it's printed down here as well. So we'll make it so the add button can do that as well. Okay, so in the add button handler, which is that method there, add button handler, what we're going to do is say, we just want to call the print selected student. Okay, we've already got the method to get the student out of the combo box, the value, so we just print the selected student. Let's run. Okay, and I want to select Moose, so Moose will appear down here, and when I click add, Moose will appear again. See, so every time I click add, the method fires as well. So here we're using a button to interrogate which item is selected on a combo box and printing them out to the screen. And that's probably all we want to do on combo boxes for now. They're very, very powerful. You can make them so they're editable, and so you can type in, you've got a list of values that you can select, or you can type in your own value. You can do a whole lot of stuff. Okay, but that's it for basic strings. Okay, so what I might do is save this project now, and then we'll come back and we'll continue on with some more things with combo boxes. See what we can do. Okay, so everything we've seen so far is fine if we're dealing with strings. But we're not dealing with strings, are we? We're dealing with students and courses. And like I said back in the introduction, we could store the student IDs and the student codes in a string field, if you like, because student IDs could have letters, I suppose, and course codes can. So, but then we'd need to go back to the original arrays to look up the data. Okay, so like I talked about in the introduction, we're now going to change this design so we're storing the actual students and courses, or references to those. Okay, so let's change that to student. So we're no longer storing strings in our array, we're storing references to students, or student objects, or instances of students. Okay, and they're the ones that we're going to be looking at. So let's now change our get all. We now want to get all the we want to loop through the array list for each student s in our array list. And remember what our array list is called. It's in the students add controller. That's where we're storing our array list. There it is. So students array list, it's our static field that we've been using in other classes. So let's go back to the enrolments controller, and it's going to be, that's our array list, but Java can't find it because you need to put a reference there for which class it belongs in. Okay, so that's the add controller. Just need to copy that class name there. So it's class name dot field name to get to the static data. Static. Okay, so class name dot field name. Let's go back to the enrolments, and so it's for each student in the. Okay, back again. So for each student in our student array list, which is stored inside our student add fxml controller class, we're going to do something with that student, and we're going to add them to our combo box. So there's our combo box. .getAllItems.add all. That was a command to add something to our combo box, and now we're just going to add the student. So for each student in our array list, we're going to add them to the combo box. Okay, so this is actually adding references to the data. So the student's not being copied across. All we're doing is storing a memory reference to that data where it lives in memory in that array list. Okay, so this is a memory address, not a copy of the student data. Right? And then down here, when we do print selected student, we get the value at the combo box. So when this happens, we're getting a student out of the combo box. No longer a string, it's a student object, and we're print lining it. So Java's going to look for some method to get a string representation of the data. And luckily, in our student class, we've got the toString method already in place. Okay, so the toString method should automatically run. Okay, and that's all we need to do. Back to NetBeans. Okay, and student adds. Where's our enrolment's gone? Enrolment add controller. There we go. So that's all we need to do to change so that we're storing courses and students, or students so far. Let's do a compile and run. All good. And when we go to add enrolments, now look what happens. Ooh. Something's not quite right. We're missing something. And of course, what we're missing is that we haven't entered any data yet. Okay, so let's add a student or two. Add a student, moose, m at n, just add any old data. And then another student Frankie, and he's at Frankie. Okay, so we're 2 students in there now. Let's go and add an enrolment. And look what happens. So we see the data that we see that gets displayed in the text area, because we're calling the same toString method. Okay, so we've got the student ID, the student name, their phone number, and their email address. If we didn't want all that data, we could restrict our toString so it didn't return all that data for a combo box. Let's not worry about that for now. That might be something we look at in a future video. Okay, but for now we're just getting all the data that's available via that toString method. So we can choose our student, and what will happen down here? What will we see? Okay, so we're selecting a student, and then we're getting a string representation of their data. Okay, so we're getting a student back out of the combo box, an actual student object or a reference to that object, and now we can say get name, get student ID, get phone number, get email, whatever we want. It's just a student object, like we're dealing with student s equals new student, same sort of thing. Okay, so that's the answer to our needs. So we can do the same for courses. Let's do that. So we're going to have an array of course here instead of string for course combo box. We're going to populate the courses. Course. So it's for each course. And I'll call it C. Okay, and the course array list is stored in our course add XML controller. There it is, course array list. Come back here and change that to course array list. We're going through the courses here, and it's our course array list add XML controller. And we're adding each course, which is a C. C is the object we're using. And it's not course student combo box, it's course combo box. Okay, so for each course C in our course array list, we're adding them to the course combo box. Okay, so in our we'll take that out. In our method down below now, when we don't need that. In our method down below, we can make it so it displays the course as well. Okay, so student, we'll say student. We'll add the course on as well. And it's course combo box dot get value. So again, Java will look for a method to get a string representation of that data. And I'm going to put the plus up there. I like putting the plus on the line before, just so I like laying out my code. Okay, so and a plus. Yep, that's fine. So when Java needs a string representation of the data, it looks for a toString method in the student class, and when it needs a string representation of the course data, it looks for a toString method in the course class. Okay, let's run that. What's that? I'll add one course and one student. Return to main menu, add a course. Just any old thing. And return to main menu, and then we'll add a course and an enrollment. So we've got one student, there's Moose, and we've got another course, and there's a course. Okay, if I entered nice data, it would look much better. Okay, so now we're ready to click the add button. We're going to click the add button now, it's just going to display the data. There's the student, and there's the course. Okay, so now we're ready to add the pair, the student reference and the course reference, to our array list of enrollment. And we need to create an enrollment class. Okay, so that might be enough for this video, because it's getting quite long already. I might do another part for the second part of this so that we can work through that. Otherwise the videos are getting too long. So we'll leave it there for now. Hope the video was useful. We're only part of the way through the add course. We've got a little bit to finish off. and then we'll move on with the display courses as well. Okay, so thanks for watching. Hope that was useful.